Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week, I checked out Apocalypse X, and this 2014 film was directed by Mehmet Khalid and stars Farid Kamil, Jihan Miskin, and Peter Davis, among others, of course. The story of Apocalypse X, of course, takes place in the apocalypse, or at least after the apocalypse. And I think they said they had like 30 gangs left after the apocalypse, and then they had a big gang war, and now they're only reduced to 5 gangs. And it's at that point that they called a truce. And that's kind of where our story picks up. So it's about these 5 gangs kind of interacting with each other. You know, of course, they have this shaky truce going on, so it's not always perfect. And then one of the gang leaders decides that he wants to be king of the world. So he renounces the truce, and now they're all back at war. What will happen though? Well, you have to watch the movie and find out. Alright, so let's discuss this movie. Well, I think with this one, the world, is this really interesting? I think that's probably where I got most of my enjoyment out of it. Just seeing these gangs kind of go at each other and have these giant, massive gang fights. It does have quite a few things kind of going on in it as well with the truce. The truce was kind of like the older generation. They call them elders, but now the younger people, they call them juniors. Don't really understand why they have a truce. Like, why can't they just go at it all the time? And so there is kind of that struggle as well, which is interesting. In addition, they have this Romeo and Juliet thing going on where these, star-crossed lovers are not really able to get together because of a brother or uncle or whoever it is. So yeah, lots of different interesting kind of aspects of this world to enjoy. Also, with this one, it does come from Malaysia, so it is a Malaysian movie, and I thought that was interesting to see kind of how they do this genre. When I originally pressed play, Tubi just gave it to me as dub, so I didn't really know where it was coming from until I had looked it up, after the first 10 minutes, because things weren't matching up with what I thought they would do. I thought it was going to be much more of like a Japanese kind of style where they do kind of the splatter fest with like things like Tokyo Gore Police or Battle Royale. It does certainly have that gang aspect to it. Lots of violence, just almost no gore in it. So it's an interesting kind of take on it. I enjoyed it for what it is, to see another cultures doing this type of stuff. I was really interested in that. So certainly a different culture's take on this genre is interesting to see. Furthermore, with this film, there is quite a few action scenes in it, quite a few fights, which is good. And the way that they do it, it's like these huge fights. They have like 50 people against 50 people, just 2 gangs fighting each other. And it goes on for a while too. Like, you'll have like a 10-minute fight scene where it's just, different cuts, but of just like random extras just like beating up on each other. So they have this huge chaotic scene of just, 100 extras just like beating up on each other. It's very kind of hard to notice anything in it, but at the same time, it's quite a bit of fun to see just 100 extras just go at it. So yeah, that's entertaining. In addition, the villains in this one are definitely a standout. Their acting is way over the top, and I absolutely loved it. This one guy just wants to be the king, so he decides the truce is off, and then he's just, I don't know, an unbelievable character, so charismatic, and just looks like he's just having so much fun on set, and I don't know what it is. I absolutely loved him. He has this henchman as well, who's like a zombie type of character, who's just flipping a switchblade the whole time, but he just like stabs so many people too with this switchblade. So the villains stand out. I think that they really kind of bring this movie alive, so I really wanted to highlight them as well. And lastly, the setting is pretty cool. It's like this abandoned building, or I think it's like half-finished building where it's just the cement, and then of course they have to add everything else. And I've been to many places where they just kind of have that, just around town. And so it's cool to see them utilize it in this respect. It certainly does give it that, post-apocalyptic feeling. And then when they go inside of the building, it's just like covered in graffiti. Like they must have just spent hours graffitiing this stuff. So that's really cool. And I don't know what it is about it, but it just makes it for an interesting kind of visual experience as you go on throughout the movie. So definitely enjoyable that way as well. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, I know I said I enjoyed the big gang fights, but they do go on for far too long. Like, you'll have 10 minutes of just like extras beating each other up, and you're just like, where are the main characters, what are they doing? They really do get lost in kind of the big gang fights. It becomes kind of like Where's Waldo, trying to figure out which of the main characters are in the front there. And yeah, it does become an issue. You really do kind of get lost. You just have to kind of sit there and wait for it to end. So it's one of those things where it's an enjoyable issue, but at the same time, it does take away from any of the story or the characters and makes it seem like kind of just filler at some point. So it is what it is. What else can I say about this one? I don't know. Like I said, I did watch it dubbed. However, I'm not too familiar with Malaysian culture. I'm not sure if they have lots of like minority languages in there, but they do put up Malaysian subtitles every so often. So I guess they must have, minority languages here or there. And I don't know, it doesn't take away from it. It's interesting to see why they had it. Again, I didn't watch the original version. I watched the dub version, so I don't even know if they are putting in different languages in there. I think at one point they say like, "Oh, congratulations! Like you speak 7 languages." So who knows? I guess I could watch the original to find out. But yeah, it's just something that's thrown in there. Again, I think it's a perfectly fine movie out of Malaysia. Why not? It's enjoyable. As for my recommendation, well, if you enjoy that Japanese cartoonish violence, then this should be one for you. It has lots of it, especially with like kind of the mass gang fights, kind of similar to Battle Royale feeling to it. Of course, a little bit of, Tokyo Gore Police thrown in there without the gore. And if that sounds like you, then yeah, press play on this one. It should be on Tubi. As for a rating, well, I'll go with the average score of 5. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.